Good afternoon and welcome to the launch of the Alberta Association of Nurses, also known as the AAN. We are just absolutely thrilled that you are joining us this afternoon. My name is Kathy Howe and I have the privilege of being the Executive Director for the AAN, and it truly is my pleasure to welcome you and to host our launch celebration this afternoon. As we begin, we would like to acknowledge the land where we are meeting today and highlight the AAN's commitment to truth and reconciliation. In the spirit of truth and reconciliation, the Alberta Association of Nurses acknowledge that we live, work, and play across the province of Alberta. We acknowledge the traditional lands of the First Nations, Treaty 6, 7, and 8, Métis regions, and the Inuit people. We recognize the Indigenous people who for generations have been the traditional keepers of these lands. We acknowledge health disparity, and we commit to responding to the 7 health-related calls to action detailed within the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada's report. On behalf of the Alberta Association of Nurses Board of Directors, we would like to welcome and acknowledge our partners that have been working with us, supporting us, and encouraging us as we begin this exciting journey. We appreciate them and we are so proud that they have joined us today to celebrate the launch of the AAN. I am joined today by Barb Shellian. Barb is a familiar name and face within Alberta nursing, and she is a past president of the College and Association of Registered Nurses and a former president of the Canadian Nurse Association. Barb was a member of the advisory task force that was instrumental in the initiation of the AAN over 1 year ago. Barb will provide us with the changes that have occurred provincially and nationally that have led us to today. I would also like to introduce Alicia Lobe. Alicia is the inaugural president of the Alberta Association of Nurses, and her energy and enthusiasm for nursing and for the Nursing Association is palpable from the moment you first meet her. Alicia will speak right after Barb and describe the work that has been completed to establish the AAN. Following Alicia, I will give us a peek into the future and what we can expect in the first months and years as the Alberta Association of Nurses grows and matures. I will now turn this over to Barb.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm really pleased and honored. I love being involved in the first of things. And this is truly, all of us who are here today are involved in history, and we're involved in the first of things. And my task today is to talk a little bit about the history, although really the history of nursing in Alberta would be a book, and I'm not going to belabor a lot of dates and activities, but just to give you a feel for the resilience, the adaptation, and changes that happened mainly because of changes in legislation and regulation, where nurses in Alberta had to change and adapt and hold true to what we believe is important. And what we believe is important is we need a strong college, a strong regulatory body to protect the public. We need a strong association to advocate for the nursing profession, and we need a strong nursing union to speak to working conditions and the remuneration of nurses. So hanging on to those 3 very important pieces, how did we get to where we are today? And I want to really highlight that the nursing associations and regulatory bodies in Alberta have had a very, very strong history. Next slide, please. And maybe going back to 1916, and no, I cannot remember that. going back to 1916, that was when the first Alberta Association of Graduate Nurses was formed and operated under specific legislation. And that group was created to control standards of training and nursing practice, which would be another name for self-regulation. That is really, really important, that nurses have the say about who enters the profession of nursing, the education required for the profession of nursing, what are standards for the profession of nursing, and what are the consequences for practice that do not meet the standards of nursing. So that was really, really important. In 1965, that organization was the Alberta Association of Registered Nurses, and they became officially involved in as the collective bargaining agent for all nurses in the province. Now, it's not unique to our province, and it is sort of part of the history where all three mandates of self-regulation, association, and collective bargaining were all under one group's mandate. So there were actually three components to the mandate of the AARN, and that continued until 1977. And again, that was part of the evolution of the thinking, the political climate at the time. And it was really seen as the thing that needed to happen for the nursing profession. The good thing about all of this is that nurses still had the ability to self-regulate and also had a very strong association. In 1999, AARN, and some of you may remember this, AARN became CARNA, and this was around the time that the Health Professions Act was proclaimed in May 1999. And some of you may remember the conversations actually started then about, is it a good idea to have the college, the regulator of nursing practice, the same group as the association? And there has been many conversations that have been to the forefront and then in the background, to the forefront, in the background. But CARNA has always been on top of where things were in terms of the political climate. And in 2020, CARNA realized that there was going to be legislation that actually precluded the regulatory body as assuming or performing any association activity. They knew this was coming down the pike. So what CARNA did, and I think all of us have to really give credit and kudos to CARNA, because they saw this coming and they were proactive rather than reactive, and actually allocated time, resources, and energy to creating an advisory council to see what could be done to establish a new association for nurses in Alberta. And with every change that happens, there's always an opportunity. And the opportunity with this particular change meant that the association could now include all nurses in Alberta: registered nurses, licensed practical nurses, and psychiatric nurses. And that was the big opportunity to create an association that was separate in mandate and activity from the college or the regulatory body. So the situation in Alberta, you may say, well, why are we doing this in Alberta? Don't they have something different in Saskatchewan or British Columbia? And I guess the answer is no. This is a movement that is happening across the country where mandates are being separated and being confined and refined. So we're not different. We have colleagues, we have friends, and this is happening across the country. And at this point, Yukon, Northwest Territories, Nunavut, and Newfoundland are the only jurisdictions that have that combined mandate. So we are where we need to be in terms of the thinking across the country. And again, it just shows and demonstrates to me how adaptable, how resilient, and how just how Alberta nurses really respond to the changes that happen that are external to us, but we make it work for our profession. This movement across the country of the separation of mandates also had an impact on the Canadian Nurses Association, because previously, if you were a member of CARNA, whether you knew it or not, you were automatically a member of the Canadian Nurses Association, as well as ICN. That isn't so anymore. And CNA had to restructure themselves and look at a way or in a membership model where they didn't have this automatic membership, that they had to look at themselves, and also the opportunity was there to include all nurses, all categories of nurses. And that's what CNA did in 2018. And CNA is now having a voluntary membership. So next slide, please. So today, after all that conversation about what happened on what dates, and the message is the nursing profession is resilient and adaptable. We make it work. We have an inclusive, robust association now that is building on the past and looking forward to the future. We have a strong college. We have a vibrant nursing unions in this province. So we have really the best of all worlds, but it's under an umbrella, but it's also separated in different groupings in terms of mandate. I guess that you could say this picture is, depending on how you look at it, it could be a sunrise or it could be a sunset. Change is hard. And with change comes gains and losses. With change comes the people who say we always want it to be the way it used to be because that was comfortable for us. But change also creates opportunity and also creates excitement. And that's what we're seeing today. A lot of the change that has happened to associations, colleges within Alberta has been the result of legislation or regulation. But also this change has given us the opportunity to create a future worth wanting. So I'm seeing this as both a sunset and a sunrise. A sunset in terms of us building on the history and the work that has been done by people ahead of us to create a strong nursing profession in Alberta. But also, I see this as a sunrise, something that is happening, a new beginning, and I'm looking forward to this new day in nursing and walking with all of you into this new day. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Barb. Thanks for unmuting me there, Kathy. Hello, everyone. My name is Alicia Lobe, and I am proud to be the first president of the Alberta Association of Nurses. This is a privilege to be speaking today amongst nurse leaders that I admire, Barb and Kathy. Today, I'm speaking on behalf of myself as president, Margaret Edwards as vice president, and the board of directors that are and were involved transforming the imaginary thought of what AAN could be to the tangible working nursing association that's ready for you today. We've been working on getting this organization off the ground since January 2021 and have put an immeasurable amount of volunteer time, often in the evenings after work. As Barb mentioned in her presentation, CARNA, now known as the CRNA, split their mandate and became solely the regulator for RNs and NPs. As the CRNA made their own changes to their organization, they assisted us in our development and provided a generous amount of resources, expertise, and guidance along the way in the first 9 months. Without CRNA, we wouldn't be where we are today. Additionally, we had an advisory group called the Steering Committee that provided guidance and expertise as well. Next slide, please. I love this visual because it tells you so much about who we are, and I want to give you the backstory and meanings behind our logo and colors. The stick people you see here represent our current board members. We are a group of mixed regulated nurses of different designations, RNs, NPs, RPNs, and LPNs. As this position is volunteer, we've had some movement and recently adjusted our composition to display equal representation among the different designations. Each person that has served on the board and serves now have been integral parts to what our organization is today. We do have some vacancies on our board that we are looking to fill in the near future to ensure equal representation among the designations. If that interests you, keep your ears and eyes open for that opportunity. The board of directors come from different ages and backgrounds and represent the designations, frontline workers, nurses in management and leadership, academia, rural health, mental health, and independent practice. We also had student representation for about 16 months. One of the first things we accomplished as a board that was big was establishing a name. Our name is simple, to the point, and tells you exactly what it is. But believe it or not, this was one of the hardest things we had to accomplish. And there was a lot of thought into the words we chose after exploring different word choices and iterations, keeping in consideration of word meaning, the way it sounds, and the way the acronym would be. In the end, we settled on the Alberta Association of Nurses. Next, I want to tell you about our logo. Our logo is symbolic of the 4 designations of nurses we represent. The brightly colored paths are symbolic of the nurses, while dark blue relates to the AAN. The star in the middle is almost medical cross-like, representing the communities that all designations of nurses interact with daily. Other honorable mentions of the tasks we accomplished, we put down the foundations essential for any nonprofit organization. Our articles of incorporation, drafting our bylaws, setting up the internal back-end structures to support a multifunctional platform, set up our initial website and soft launch, and started the building blocks of strategic planning, including creating our vision, mission, and values, which are available to read through on our website, albertanursing.ca. Overall, our overarching theme of creating the association was to create a place that is inviting, warm, and welcoming to every nurse in Alberta. We seek togetherness and common ground while also identifying and celebrating our differences and unique perspectives as each designation. One of the most important things we've accomplished more recently is that we hired our executive director, Kathy Howe. She came at the perfect time. She started in February and hit the ground running. She has put into motion the vision that we had for AAN, and with her expertise, we've been off in the right direction. Next slide, please. So what is next for AAN? It's you. We are so ready for you and have so much more to come as we continue to develop the association. This is where I'm going to pass it off to Kathy to talk about what the future holds for AAN.
Thank you, Alicia, and thank you, Barb. The AAN intends to enhance, promote, and advocate for nurses, all nurses, LPNs, RNs, RPNs, NPs, student nurses, and retired nurses. We intend to work collaboratively with other groups and organizations who have similar purposes. We intend to be a strong provincial voice for nursing, endorsing and promoting issues and causes that are important to nurses. The AAN wants to link with special interest groups and other nursing associations to help nurses network. The AAN intends to hold monthly webinars, provide monthly newsletters, and host an annual nursing conference to support nurses in their pursuit of excellence. We're often asked what's the difference between an association, a college, or regulatory body, and a union. And so we created this chart. It's written, of course, from the AAN's perspective. The Nursing Association is focused on nursing and the nursing profession. A college or regulatory body focuses on licensing nurses and ensuring safe, competent care. Regulatory bodies are really focused on protecting the public. Unions work with a subset of nurses, those who work in unionized positions. Unions focus primarily on safe and equitable workplaces. Unions work often involves advocating for nurses and for the nursing profession. And in that way, we have that very much in common with unions. The AAN is very keen to partner and support Alberta's unions and regulatory bodies. So what will AAN be like in the future? First of all, we want to be accessible. That's why we set the membership fee at $50. That's less than $1 a week. We did not want the fee to be a barrier to membership. However, with a low membership fee, it means we really need every nurse to join us. Because when we pool our resources, we'll have the means to be an effective association, making a difference by and for nurses. Secondly, we want to be accountable. As Alicia mentioned, to date, the work of the association has been done by the board of directors and the executive director. But going forward, this will be a member-led association. This association is for members, by members, and we want to be influential and effective with issues that are important to members. With the potential for 65,000 nurse members, not every topic is going to resonate with every nurse, but overall, we want to be effective and relevant and address issues that are important to nurses in Alberta. And we commit to being open and transparent with our resources and accountable to the membership for our achievements. And we want to be noticeable. We want to be an important player in Alberta healthcare. So we strive to be influential in education, business, and politics. And we want AAN to be a first call when healthcare issues come up in Alberta. We have heard from nurses that they want one voice that will advocate for nurses and issues that are important to nursing in Alberta. We have already developed an endorsement policy, and we've already begun to endorse issues and actions that matter to nurses. As Alicia said, all that's missing is you. So please check us out at albertanursing.ca and join if you are a nurse. And if you have any questions, you can always get hold of us at info@albertanursing.ca. And now let's launch the association. We'll turn it over to Alicia for our official ribbon cutting.
I am delighted to cut the ribbon today to officially welcome you to AAN. The ribbon has the four different colors woven together to represent the designations working together starting today. The blue ribbon represents the association that will lift us up on the platform we need.
Yay! I'm very pleased to announce that the Alberta Association of Nurses is launched. We are open and ready for business. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really value your time and your participation. Thank you so much and good afternoon.